Back in at ranked. Alright. We got the other Tracy. These videos were recorded during the festive event, so it's not so much in best of 3, but a lot of best of 1 recording was really messed up by this because a lot of people were playing jank to try and get trophies. Okay, this hand is slow, so we gotta hope we're not up against an aggro deck. And of course, I see mono white. Well, Kithian. So I'm thinking, is this 5-color humans, legendaries? But no, this was a Boros legendary deck, which is pretty sick. I'm gonna throw down Joshua as a blocker. Supreme's a bit slow, and let's get some cards down. Ooh, Ancient Cornucopia is good here. Joshua is actually a really good road. Ooh, and Alpacals are gonna be a tough one. I do not want that to start making tokens with the Annabelle on the field. Arabella, sorry. Come on, it's Annabelle. we all seen the movie. Alright, we're still on 18 against an aggro deck, which is a good place to be in. We have a big chunky roadblock. So let's play another tap land, drop the Ancient Cornucopia. We can hold the Vanishing Verse here. If they go for a combat swing, we could make them use Ooh, Adeline. Yeah, okay. We're going to get rid of Adeline here, because they could easily get enough here to flip Gideon. Well, Kithian flips into Gideon for anyone who's not played him. Man, I missed Origins. Can we get more flip walkers? They're really cool. Right, opponent, okay, we're hitting it down. Right, got the soundboard ready, gain 5 life.
Reload!
And we get a full spread of 5, which is pretty good. I'm going to Helix the fear of missing out. Double combat with Arabella on the field is scary, so let's get Joshua in. Niv's a good blocker here. Worst case, they remove Niv and hit us for like 5, but we're at 28, so they concede. Pretty good. So, a low to the ground aggro deck, so definitely a fatal push matchup. Cavero I don't think works in this regard. Unmoored Ego's a bit slow. No More Lies I think comes one out. Cosmic Rebirth definitely, and we'll run it back like that. Basically we want low to the ground removal, keep that board. Basically we treat this like we're playing against Tribal. We want the board clear at all times. You know, like a train announcer. Board clear at all times. This hand is a tad risky. We'll put Niv to the bottom. We have double removal. Okay, we'll get a Triome down. The worst thing there actually would have been a Thalia. A Thalia would have wrecked our life. Oh, we did draw. So let's double Fatal Push to clear the board. And now we're pretty good stead actually. We've got double removal spell, a creature that can ramp us. We've got a way to deal with Adeline, so let's get rid of that immediately. We don't want to deal with her. Now we've got enough that we... Ooh, Amel's going to be an issue. Alright, let's get White Mana down and kill her. Because if they start putting counters on it, she'll be out of range. There's a Thalia very late to the party. Let's put down a Biotech. Nice that it has a big enough butt to block. I'm going to grab Yorion here as a blink option and a 4/5 blocker. Yeah, because we seem to be drawing a lot of land. So let's get Yorion down, blink the board. There comes back everything. We've got 4 damage. Oh, Delny's going to be scary. That's really good. Double Arabella trigger and we can't block it with Yorion. Yeah, I'm going to have to get rid of that Delny. That's actually a really sick strat they're doing there. We've got a whole black blockers. Another land. Right, let's fin the deck in the end step here. If they don't attack in, we've got to see if they're going for it. Nope, so let's double land a token. Man, they've gained a lot of life of Arabella. She's such a good card, man. Surprised she doesn't see more playing aggro decks. I suppose aggro decks don't go as wide. Alright, Lightning Helix is a good hit here, but we'll hold it back in case they play anything truly scary. But I think this one is getting away from them. There's a fear of missing out. They loot away another Arabella. Now that we know they've dunked one in the graveyard, I'm pretty happy to Helix here. But it's basically, we need one of our bombs to finish this. Skrelv. Oh, Skrelv will be an issue. So Skrelv gives hexproof of the color, not protection. So we can still block, but let's just get rid of it while we can. Supreme is brilliant here. We can hit him with Yorion. Supreme lets us buy back any of these spells to swing the game in our favor, and that's enough for our opponent. Good start with ranked. Second match here versus Kawania. This hand is missing black, but I think it's alright. Wandering Mind is one of the good hits in our deck that can deal. Seeing a Yorion into a Thoughtseize definitely means this is Dimir Bounce house. Well, I thought it could have been a Dimir control list, but basically it's a Dimir this town list, so it's looking to bounce. We ended up fighting this deck actually twice in this video. Okay, no, this is Dimir Demons, maybe? Am I misremembering this? Our opponent hasn't deployed any threats here. They activate the Mutavault, so I think they're struggling for things to do. So let's play a land, and we could just Cosmic Rebirth the Thoughtseized your Wandering Mind. Helix isn't a great hit, but it is something. Let's see what they play. A Meat Hook Massacre for 1. I think this might actually be a Dimir control list. I think I might have in my head misplaced it as a Dimir Bounce list. There's up to 5 mana. Meat Hook on 1 is weird. They buy Yorion, but blinking the Meat Hook doesn't do anything. They're definitely holding up some interaction, so I'm going to try and get back the Wandering Mind and force them to discard a card. I'm expecting a counterspell here, but it does not come. So I'm assuming their hand must be like Shieldred's Edicts and stuff. Edict effects to slow us down. This town ain't big enough. So this is a this town deck, but it must be a more control-y build. Let's play the Wandering Mind. I'm not going to run the Niv Mizzet Supreme into an Edict effect or a counterspell. So let's just keep using this to gain more power. Okay, Bring to Light's a great hit here. Bring to Light now gives us a double layer of protection because they have to basically counter Bring to Light and then counter Supreme or kill Supreme before we can jumpstart the Bring to Light. But it is revealed information. Okay, it's a Boomerang bait. This is a Dimir self-bounce list with some interesting choices. Dimir self-bounce has become a little bit more popular. Boomerang Basics has definitely made it more appealing to a lot of people. Another Wandering Mind's pretty sick. Alright. I think the best option here is Bring to Light and see what our opponent goes for. Right, no counter comes down, so I think our best bet here is the Valkyrie. We already have a full spread of hands, and I think the best bet is to just see if we can... Yeah, no counterspell, so let's keep working on their library here. They can either bounce Tybalt, or if they have a Shieldred's Edict, they gotta use it. Right, there's Storm Chasers, which is big money here. Fear of Isolation to bounce it, play another Storm Chasers. There's a Boomerang Basics to bounce it again. There's another Bring to Light. Alright, so let's plus Tybalt immediately, see what we can find. Go for the Throat and a Cornucopia here. I'm thinking that we force the hand here. We know they have one card in hand. So if we get a board wipe here, they have to kill Tybalt or we ultimate. I could unmoored Ego, and this is what I'm considering, but I'm viewing their hand and I'm like, I think the best bet here is just to grab a Niv. I can't put all my eggs into the Tybalt because what they could do, I noticed, is they could Storm Chaser's Talent, buy back Boomerang Basics, bounce Tybalt. So this way I'm still holding a pretty decent board state here, and I want to see if they use removal and then go for a Tybalt kill. Storm Chaser's Talent. Okay, that's their third otter. Upgrade, okay. They get a go for the Throat, which is so weird. Because they don't have the mana for it, so Tybalt's gonna ultimate now. That was a complete misplay. It should have been Boomerang Basics. I'm gonna Vanishing versus Storm Chaser's Talent, and I choose to do that because it's now in our graveyard, and the same here with the Maelstrom Pulse. Once I kill all of these tokens, I can ultimate the Tybalt and get all the spells I just cast back into exile. Alright, so we'll start with a Thoughtseize on our opponent. We'll take the kill spell. I'm not too fussed about them having to use a Meat Hook Massacre for like 10 mana here. We'll Vanishing Verse the blocker, get rid of that. Swing in with Niv Mizzet. Let the opponent go. Right, they activate the Mutavault, swing in for Tybalt, and concede. That was that was clearly a frustration swing of how dare you. Right, so against Dimir Bounce or a bounce list, I bring in the Deafening Silence. That's because you saw in that match, the chain they want to do is Storm Chasers, bounce it, Storm Chasers, bounce it. Or even early game, if they have like 3 or 4 mana, they want to go Hopeless Nightmare, bounce it with Boomerang Basics, Hopeless Nightmare, Fear of Isolation, bounce it. They want to cast multiple non-creature spells a turn, so if we slow them down to 1 by 1, we can deal with it. Now, I do ultimately go back and forth on this because this was early days of testing it. I go out of an Ashiok and I go out of a Kavero here. Kavero does seem like he would work. Obviously, there's a lot of discard going, but ultimately, I don't think it's going to affect it. And I did feel bad here because they go for early Storm Chaser's talent, and I top deck the Deafening Silence, which is perfect, so I'll play that. Also, Deafening Silence really slows down the damage they can do from their prowess creatures. Right, they got 1 spell. They play a Coalition Relic, drawing a card. Cryogen Relic, sorry. Unfortunately, this Verge doesn't give us blue, so we've got to play the Triome to try and buy time. Shifting around. Did I forget the reload again on the Niv Mizzet? I swear I did. Alright, there's a Duress. They've got 1 target, which is No More Lies. Puts us down to 14. Let's get a Wandering Mind out of the way. Wow, we whiff. That was... Well, I'm happy we're not drawing 5 lands, but damn, that was crazy. Okay, they've got 1 spell left for the turn. Unlicensed Hearse. This is always funny. People overthink what the value of the graveyard is with Tybalt. Like, a Tybalt Ultimate is not the main plan of the deck. Yes, we tutored for him, but like I said in the previous video I did where I was talking about the situations where you want to use Bring to Light. Oh, this is unfortunate. So they take out the Bring to Light here, we can still Niv. I'm going to remember the button this time. I must remember the button. If he resolves. He does?
Reload!
Alright, remember to reload. Sounds like a gun enthusiastic thing. Remember to reload. Alright, the Hearse is getting pretty big. There's a Momentum Breaker which will take out Niv. So this is pretty much a Dimir Bounce list. So play a land. Let's get the Wandering Mind down. Let's see if we can find some more action. I'll take an Izzet Charm for a counter. And then we will pass it back. This is the beauty of 1 spell a turn here. They really can't develop their board. Their board is all 1 and 2 ofs that they want to have on the field as much as possible. Like here, I usually would be a bit concerned about a Hopeless Nightmare, but at this point I'm like, it's fine because that's your spell for the turn. Let's Vanishing versus Storm Chasers because that's clearly what they want to set up the loop with. Now they can this town, but Deafening Silence being a 1 mana artifact is so good. Alright, let's see if Yorion enters. He does. Let's blink the Wandering Mind to draw another card. There he comes. I'm going to take another Bring to Light here. Opponent's going to Unlicensed Hearse to keep exiling. There's an Omen of the Seas. I could counter this. In fact, I am going to because it cuts off their card selection. Alright, there's their 4th land. There's another Relic, but unfortunately they can't do anything else. Alright, and this is where we're going to show them some funny stuff. We're going to Bring to Light here after combat. We should get the damage in first. It won't change what we do here, but let's see if they go for the resolve. So we will grab the Niv Mizzet. And you see them here reading Deafening Silence. 3 cards off it, not too bad, but a hard counter for anything big they do. We'll let that go with the, well, we have to let it go, sorry, because we used our 1 non-creature spell on the Bring to Light. Deafening Silence is great because it doesn't cut off your Bring to Light options with Niv. It does cut off Valky and Board Wipe and other effects. But as long as you run creatures, it's a good counter pick. And they concede. Alright. Final match here in this ranked video, and we got up against Freestar, and we run into another enjoyer of Dimir Bounce. So we got a mulligan here. This is an all colors hand, which is good. I think I get rid of Clarion here. Now, I'm seeing Urion, so it's definitely not an aggro-based deck, so I don't think that that'll be that important. I'm going to get Biotech down immediately, because I see blue-black, I'm like, it's either Esper Control or Dimir Bounce. Urion leads it towards more Bounce. Yep, there's a Nowhere to Run. So we'll shock a land in here. We can hold up a No More Lies for anything scary, which is Stormchaser's Talent is scary. That is the right, we'll discard the Momentum Breaker, doesn't do a lot here. Play a land tapped. We will then Maelstrom Pulse the Momentum Breaker. We want them to have as little as possible to bounce, and they just draw a Relic, which is pretty good. Hopeless Nightmare is going to make us discard our last land. Right, we have to pass and hold up the Lander token. There's a Fear of Isolation, bouncing the Relic. There's a land. They don't do anything, so let's use the Lander token here. They have played a Urborg, which will help us with our colors. Fortunately, Supreme is a lot weaker here because they could very easily have. They have basically Hexproof doesn't trigger with Nowhere to Run on the battlefield, so they can target it. So it's not as good, but it's still pretty solid. The reason Stormchaser's Talent is 100% attacked here. Stormchaser's Talent is the engine that gives the loop. Oh, and they tap out as we draw a Bring to Light. I'm looking for all the various options here, and I think restocking our hand is just the most valuable thing we can do.
Reload.
Right, we get 6 here. I'm going to take Cavero here because they're going to force us to discard a ton anyway and put pressure on with Nivs. Now, even if they blink their board here, they're going to draw 2 cards, make us discard, and give a creature -3 to the end of turn. We should then be able to still, between the jumpstart abilities and the spell in hand, clear away for a decent attack here. Alright, there we go. So they give Supreme the Shrink. We're going to discard Joshua. Right, land for turn. Looking at our options, we're going to vanish. Let's start with a Molten Collapse on the Urion, discarding the Wandering Mind. Then we will Vanishing Verse, the Fear of Isolation. We want to get as through as possible. Basically, I said before, if we can get them low enough that double Helix will kill them, it's pretty good for us. Now they need double Edict effects to kill our stuff, or double blockers to stay alive here. Each one of these creatures is lethal, and any blockers they throw down they know we have removal for, and we have a counterspell with a No More Lies here. So I'm going to No More Lies this town ain't big enough to force them to actually pay all their mana here. Then they won't be able to do anything, so they see that and concede. Now I'm going to say this because of something coming up in the game here. I'm going to bring in the vetoes. I'm going to bring in Ashiok. Ashiok for his graveyard hate. Clearing the graveyard is really relevant here. A lot of their value comes from the near infinite loop they can make. And it's not true infinite, but what they can do is level up a Stormchaser's Talent, get back at this town ain't big enough, bounce Stormchasers and another value thing like say a No More Lies or a Momentum Breaker, and constantly force you to discard or thing. It's not their main win con, but it's a huge win con because it also makes them prowess 1/1s that will win the game. Again though, Deafening Silence is a great hate against this deck because this deck just wants to throw out 1/1s, 1 spells as much as possible. Oh, and we drew an Ashiok. This is a perfect. Alright, they're reading their Deafening Silence here. My guess is, yep, there's a Coalition Relic to draw a card. Okay, we do not have green, I just realized here. Because I thought that the Rafine's Tower was the Esper Tower. Not the Esper Tower, the Bant Tower. Right, 3 mana open, but they've got 1 spell they can cast. It is very possible they have counter spells here. So I'm going to bait with Ashiok. See if they want to counter that. They do not. They did have something they could do. Let's mill and get rid of 2 Boomerang basics. Pretty good. This town ain't big enough, bouncing the Deafening Silence. So yep, they're going to try and do like a double turn here. So you see here, Stormchaser's Talent, make a 1/1. Right, they're holding up counters. There's no way to get double white currently, so I am going to play a land tapped, activate Ashiok to mill 4 and exile the graveyard. I'm going to attempt the Deafening Silence. It will eat the negate. In response, I will Lightning Helix their Otter, so they can't put pressure on Ashiok now. Right, there's a land. Boomerang Basics, yep, here comes the chain. Boomerang Basics to make Storm, and then draw a card. Alright, play land tapped. We got a Vanishing versus the Storm Chaser's Talent to keep it off the board. Mill the graveyard and exile it. Losing more interaction there. Yep, there's a Hopeless Nightmare, so let's discard land. We finally have green now, so we can bring to light. If I'd played my lands differently, I think I could have done it earlier. Okay, there goes Ashiok. They buy Yorion. It is possible they have a counter here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bait with Bring to Light. And they don't counter, which is interesting. So we'll use Niv here.
Reload.
4 cards, and we'll play the Deafening Silence again, see if they want to counter. They go for the Throat to kill Niv. Okay. But now they're down to 1 card a turn. Field of Ruin. Oh, this town ain't big enough again. Hopeless Nightmare enters. I will discard. You know what? I'm going to discard the Vanishing Verse. There's a Grim Bauble, which can give creatures strength. Alright, so I'm going to play the Wandering Mind. I'm going to find the Maelstrom Pulse. I'm then going to play the Deafening Silence. So they're restricted to 1 non-creature spell a turn. They go for Yorion, and I no more lies them. However, they did have a land, they just didn't play it, which is unfortunate for them. So, with the lock currently on, I'm going to now grab our Yorion, I think. Yeah. And I'm actually going to look through their graveyard and realize we didn't get a lot of their Storm Chaser's talent. So, we're going to Unmoored Ego, because Storm Chaser's talent is basically their win con in the deck. And you'll now see my dyslexic ass struggle to spell anything in this card, so I end up putting Storm and having to manually go and find Storm Chaser's talent. Right, and you see there's 3 in the graveyard. If we look at their hand, it's nothing but counter spells and bounce, and maybe Fear of Isolation, so there's nothing major that's going to kill us here, so I'm just going to pass it back. On their turn, they realize they don't have their loop anymore. And they concede. Good showing. A good place to attack the deck.